indulge me, I would like to very quickly tell you the story of how I became an American. Because in a sense, it is a story of globalization, but it's also a miraculous story. And I felt like I was like a character in the movie, and I still think it needs to be turned into the movie. Lisa is somewhere there, so Lisa will talk about it. Oh, here's Lisa. I remember very well when I was growing up, it was about the age of 5. And if you're bored, you will tell me, right? About an age of 5, I started getting these thoughts. What is this America, this majestic land, milk and honey, the land of milk and honey? And I remember very well, there was even a joke in Russia. If someone was doing very well, they would say, oh, you have an uncle in America, don't you? And in the Soviet Union, that was not a good thing. And I started getting these thoughts. Now, I was in a very problematic position, and here is why. I myself was born a Heinz 57 of the former Soviet Union. And that means ethnically, my mom was Ossetian, my mom was Ukrainian Russian, my father was Georgian Armenian Ossetian, and that was a lethal combination. That was a Molotov cocktail for the Soviet Union. Because Soviet Union and many other countries in Europe actually are not tossed salads as what you are used to. These are quilts, and the quilts do not mix with each other. And it is the same way today, by the way, which I would like to tell you about a little bit later, so that you understand how you deal with these issues. But I'm growing up there, absolutely damned by this ethnic background, which I did not like at all. In fact, I thought, why can't I be a Slavic Russian? Why can't I be Tanya, or Sveta, or Oля, and why am I this Taira, which I did not like at all. And I remember very well that I very quickly figured out that my blonde, blue-eyed grandma does not like my brunette grandma. And I need to be very careful what I say around one and around another one. Little did I know that it helped me greatly when I was among my divorced parents, United States of America and the Russian Federation, both of them in possession of nuclear weapon. One side blows up the globe 54 times, they can do that, and the other side about 54 times, and they argue continuously who can blow up the globe quicker. And let me tell you, I look at that and I'm thinking, people, these are not toys, by the way, just so that you remember. And they don't. But that's beside the point. That does not relate to us. So I'm growing up, and I remember at the age of 12, I watched a documentary about America. And documentaries were shown very, very late at night only, so that people don't get all kinds of ideas about America. So I would set an alarm, and I would wake up, and I would watch that documentary. And I remember the documentary very vividly, and I would like to tell you about that. That's how America looks to us. The first plot was about, the first part of the movie was about those strange people that go to Yosemite National Park and they hug trees, and therefore they are called tree huggers. And I thought, oh, these strange Americans, and they can afford the luxury of hugging trees. Who would ever do that? And I remember the second part of the documentary, and the second part was about, first of all, it was a very, very pretty young girl who was presenting a phenomenon that was on the rise in America, and that phenomenon was called Special Olympics. And it was for people who had special needs. And even the expression didn't translate well into Russian. So I was thinking for a while, and I was thinking, do they mean cripples? Do they mean disfigured people? So they're people too. And I remember very well that at that moment, something in my heart just cracked, and I thought, oh, the country that actually takes care of those people who are not entirely normal, and yet they have the right to live, and yet they are not pitied, and yet they are considered equal to everybody. Darn it, there is something so appealing about this mysterious country of America. I need to be thinking about it. Need to be thinking about it, living in a different galaxy. It's not a different planet. It's not a different solar system. It's a different galaxy. So you are not even on the same dimension than we are. And so that was an absolutely impossible subject, as impossible as you can possibly get the subject to be. It's, well, I will not go into the details of how impossible it was, but let me give you only one. I remember very well, there is a family gathering, and that was before the New Year or something of that nature, because we were not allowed to, it was not a part of the culture, it was an atheistic culture, so no Christmas for us. But the New Year was still there, thank goodness. And I remember very well, around the table, everybody was asking, so what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And so my turn came, and I, a total clinical idiot, blurred out suddenly, unexpectedly for myself. I said, now I want to become an American. I remember people just died laughing. I mean, my dad almost fell off the chair. I mean, it was just so funny for them. They say, boy, I mean, listen, you are raising an idiot, aren't you? And my dad, when he finally regained his consciousness, I remember very well, he looked at me with such pity. And he looked at me and he said, honey, a frog can sit in a dirty pond and dream that she is a Japanese princess, but it doesn't make her so. Dream on, baby, listen. In other words, with such irony. And I remember very well, suddenly, unexpectedly for myself, I got a lot of resistance inside. I don't know where I got it. I really, really do not know. And I thought, well, we'll see. Well, we'll see who's right. Where I got it, I don't know. What gave me that idea, I do not know. But I would like to continue the story. May I?
Yes.
So here's what happens next. I shut up, because I know, don't bring up that subject, because it's a stupid subject. But I remember very well that I would read everything I could get my hands on about that America. I remember Jack London. I probably read the books that normal people do not read anymore, but I read Jack London, and I read Theodore Dreiser, and I read Gatsby, and I read, oh boy, everything I could get my hands on. And again, there was something appealing in that national character of resilience, perseverance, and ability to push it even further than human thinks possible. And I thought, these Americans are really, really interesting people. I wonder how they are in reality. But again, you will never see them. You will never talk to them, ever. So I live, my father is a military man, a colonel, and I live in a classified Russian city. And lo and behold, who knew I would be representing the interest of the Department of Defense of the United States of America. Darn it. I mean, higher power does have creativity. And is, yeah, and plays joke all right. I mean, and I'll tell you about that too, if you're not bored. So, how are you? How is your digestion? Doing? Okay, so you will stop me in my tracks if it doesn't. So let me continue the story, if you would allow me. So I continue, and since I live in a classified city, the trip to St. Petersburg to go to museums is a big deal. I come to St. Petersburg, and that's a place that was allowed for Americans to visit. So here I am, a 13-year-old kid, chasing everybody who speaks English, and at that time I was studying British English, so I would run up to them and say, "What time is it now, sir?" and years and years and years would pass. I prepare my first summit. Actually, no, not the first summit, probably the third. The first summit between Bush and Putin. And I stay at a very, very ritzy-glitzy hotel at one of the suites because I'm one of those advisors. You know, there are hundreds of us preparing summits. Don't think I'm the only one. Listen, there is a huge bunch of us. Basically, presidents don't even say anything they think. We just give them the cards, what they're supposed to think, and we actually give them the cards a year in advance. And you never know which card comes up. Actually, can I deviate? I watched Putin on here on CNN, on King Charles. No, Larry King show, and he opens his mouth and he says something I wrote one 18 months ago, and I'm thinking, darn it, it got to him. He finally said it. So it was so funny. I'm thinking, it works. But in any case, back to that story. So many, many years passed. I am staying at that, and I have a surreal, strange experience that I died, and I now living again, and here I come out of this hotel, and it's me. And the apartment that I rented when I was a student in St. Petersburg, just half a block away, and I rented it with two professional prostitutes. So I learned all the secrets of their trade. And I must say, I mean, it was an understandable job. They couldn't get another one. And they actually despised me because it was a bookworm, and they were doing a real job. And I was, so in any case, I came out, and the girl runs up to me of about 12 and 13, comes up to me and she says, "What time is it now?" And I thought, that is one of those 360 degrees moments.